Poland straight off to S tier. Now you may have seen memes about Poland and so have I, but boots on the ground, Poland is vastly different. I expected basically Stalker with the big Stalin building in the middle of Warsaw, but in reality it's a very good, clean place. What makes Poland so good is not only the fact that there's a lot to do and a lot to see, but also that it's just so cheap and convenient in every way. Like Warsaw and Krakow have very good public transport, so it's easy to move around. Even from the Warsaw Chopin airport, there's a whole train that takes you to the city. And even if you do need to use a taxi, it's only a couple dollars max. And in general, there's a lot to see in Poland. Just dirt cheap trains to anywhere in the country. The roads are all nice and well maintained, clean. The only problem you might run into is the excess amount of tweakers in Wrocław, but I learned my way around them. Also, their main store chain Żabka is literally everywhere on every street corner, and it's absolutely amazing. It's like my favorite part about Poland. So Poland gets an S tier. Not only is it, in my opinion, the best Eastern European country, but it is one of the best countries in Europe. I actually have a bonus Eastern European country at the end of this video, so stay tuned for that. Now, I know me and Czechia got off on the wrong start, but I do like Czechia. The dirt cheap beer is an absolute must try. Honestly, I didn't even like beer until I tried Czech beer, so it's absolutely goated, and you can get a whole pint for like $2 in a bar. It's amazing. Also, Czechia is the first Eastern European country that actually has industry. Škoda is a car used by the police all over Europe. I have been inside the back of a Škoda police car, and let me tell you, it's pretty comfortable back there. But not only do they make cars, but also trams, and the Czech tram system is amazing. It runs literally 24/7, and along with this, they have a good metro system, which is a huge plus for any city ever. Because having good public transport lets people get around easily and keeps the cars off the road. Czechs have industry, beer, tourism, and it's a pretty well-developed country. They don't have good roads, but that's why they make good cars, to get over the roads that look like mixed gray paint. By far the worst part about Czechia is that the whole country is basically on a leash from Airbnb, more specifically Prague. This one app is just ruining the normal Czechs' lives by making the apartments in Prague stupid expensive and unavailable, because the apartments in Prague are for tourists, not for the Czech people. Now, I have a certain idea on how to fix this, and it really isn't that complicated. It's just considered unorthodox by today's standards. But yeah, good salaries, good public transport, amazing cheap beer, and a well-developed country. Czechia gets A tier. Today's sponsor is Private Internet Access VPN. As many people know, governments can get very restrictive and very invasive. And if you want to avoid this, I suggest you use a VPN. Not only do you get freedom of the internet, but you get protected from hackers, you get protected from getting looked at by your government, and you can switch to any of these countries with a click of a button. And this is very useful since nearly every single country has some sort of internet restrictions on websites. And American Netflix is mid because they restrict you from watching a lot of good content that is region locked to other countries, which of course you can avoid by using this VPN. And it's available for all platforms: Windows, Mac, Linux, Android, iOS, and you can use one subscription to protect an unlimited amount of devices at the same time. You can go on piavpn.com/Gattsu to get 83% off and get 4 months free on top of that. Signing up for Private Internet Access VPN is risk-free, there's a 30-day money-back guarantee, and 24/7 customer support available. Thank you, Private Internet Access VPN, for sponsoring this video and helping me through my city's rising real estate prices. Ukraine is a country in Eastern Europe based on the video game franchise Stalker. Being Ukrainian is not easy. First, you create the fictional country of Russia in cooperation with the Mongols, and then they occupy you for hundreds of years while cleansing your language and culture. Then, during their occupation, the world learns that communists cannot boil water. So after your population getting lethal doses of radiation under communist rule, you finally break free. Then they take Crimea and wage a war against you for 10 years until they finally decide that their officers with Nazi tattoos need to denazify Ukraine. Even though the far-right party in your elections got 2.16% of the vote, where in Western Europe they get majority of the votes, but Western Europeans are in NATO, so they cannot be denazified. Along with this, you have the lowest GDP per capita in Europe, even lower than Moldova. Being Ukrainian comes with a lot of hard times, and the hard times create strong men, quote, got proven correct in Ukraine's case, since Alexander Usyk was the first person ever to defeat Tyson Fury and take the World Boxing Championship belt away from him. You can tell the entire vibe of Ukraine just by the video games they develop, since it's coincidentally always taking place in a cold, post-apocalyptic universe where you risk your life exploring desolate commie blocks with your homies and sit around the campfire chain-smoking cigarettes. There is also a mission depicting Georgian life in Stalker, where a Georgian guy owes money to some people we can only assume is Bank of Georgia with its 20% interest rate, and he gives you the money to pay off the debt so he doesn't get shot by Bank of Georgia's special 20% interest on loan protection unit. Ukraine is the definition of Eastern Europe. It doesn't get any more Eastern or Eastern European than this. I have a lot of friends in Ukraine because we got something in common, you know. One ideology both them as Ukrainians and me as a Georgian share and know very well from experience. And also they're cool as fuck. I would love to visit Ukraine, and I will as soon as air travel is available, because Kyiv is probably the littest place in Europe aside Berlin. The Germans have the #1 spot here, unfortunately. But living in Ukraine is a different story, since you have to deal with extremely low salaries and just the fact that the country is horrendously broke. It is the biggest country in Europe, and also it's very beautiful, so they definitely do score some good points for that. And just because it's so beautiful, and the fact that I would much rather visit Ukraine than any of the other countries in D tier, I'm putting this in C. But living in Ukraine would be ass, because you'd have to deal with being horrendously broke, unless you get an IT job. GTA 4 is based on the true story of a Serbian man escaping the horrors of living in Belgrade. The horrors being having the most incompetent politicians the world has ever seen, on top of being Balkan. Serbia's politics are so cooked, I'm pretty sure every Serbian has given up on it making sense and are just trying to live without investing themselves in it. Besides the Kosovo is Serbia here and there, and some mad Putin meat riding. The streets of Belgrade are taken up by a civil war between Serbians and Serbians. One waving the Russian flag around, the other making Rick and Morty jokes about the elections being rigged. Both think Kosovo is Serbia. Belgrade is where it's fucking at, with its insane commie blocks. I know in Tbilisi we have some crazy commie blocks, but Belgrade's commie blocks look like something out of a dystopia, which is why it's so funny seeing Swiss people pretend to be hood, like, oh, don't come to Basel, bro, you'll get fucked up. Americans can learn from Serbians by the fact that Serbia had 2 mass shootings in 2 days, unprecedented in the country's history, which killed 17 people, and in turn, in 12 days, Serbians turned in more than 13,500 weapons to the government. Based. However, the only country in the entire world with a mass shooting problem still thinks the solution to mass shootings is more guns being sold at Walmart. Serbia gets C tier. Bosnia is extremely different from most European countries and has a lot of quirks and features, such as they have the tallest people in the world, yes, even taller than the Dutch. Along with this, they are Muslim, and along with this, their country is divided into 2 between the Serbians and Bosnians, and also it's very beautiful. Literally everyone I've ever heard that went to Bosnia absolutely loves it, and why wouldn't they? The people are all chill, Mostar is beautiful. The slight issue is that Bosnia is extremely fucking broke. They essentially have 3 parliaments for the 3 different ethnicities living in Bosnia, and none of them can agree on anything, and nothing ever gets done. And the salaries aren't good at all. But it is extremely beautiful and quirky, and for that, Bosnia gets a C tier. Despite being broke, just the beauty and the cool people pushes it into C tier. Here's the thing with small countries, right? You get one famous person, and then everyone in the world thinks that everyone from that country is like that. Such as everyone thinks everyone from Georgia is a Stalinist. Now, I personally don't know what makes them think that. We're an EU candidate now, guys. Come on, you can stop the stereotypes. But same thing about Slovenia. It's either Slavoj Žižek, Melania Trump, or femboys. The thing is though, even though Slovenia has a very small population of 2 million people, they have a very good country. They make a lot of money on average, even more than Czechs and Poles, and on top of that, it's very beautiful. Ljubljana looks majestic, it's a beautiful, highly educated country whose people make a good amount of money. It's S tier for sure. You know, Hungary gets a bad rep because, you know, the whole being an empire that treated their minorities badly thing and then being punished for it, and now their leader being the worst person in the EU that wants to murder as many Ukrainians as possible and vetoes EU aid to Ukraine every chance he gets. Politically, Hungary is absolutely fucking cooked. Talking about go back where you came from. Bro, you go back where you came from. I've been to Budapest, which is basically the entire country, since more than a third of the country lives there, and there's absolutely nothing to do outside of Budapest in Hungary. And Hungary has a lot of famous people that you didn't know were Hungarian, such as Houdini, Hank from Breaking Bad, Adrian Brody, and the Hungarian man who set the world record for having the highest amount of alcohol in his blood ever. But honestly though, I do like Hungary a lot. Budapest looks like Tbilisi, so it's an instant W, and their food is absolutely amazing. You see, the Hungarians migrated from Asia and brought some good ass food with them. First time I tried Hungarian food, I was curling my toes with how good it was. Possibly the best food in the EU, because not to get vulgar here, but the Slavic countries are out of the question, and there remains like 4 other countries with good food. And Budapest itself is absolutely gorgeous as well. They have this cute M1 metro, which was the first metro in mainland Europe, and it's still working today. They have the Faluhas, a commie block which houses 3,000 people, which a lot of people might not be interested in, but it was pretty interesting to see this monster. It's so big, it's like a work of art. A fancy McDonald's, and Budapest itself is one of the most beautiful cities you will ever see. The only kind of cap thing about Hungary is their currency, because you never know how much you're paying for something, because $10 is 3,620 forints. So doing math in the head with that exchange rate is messed up. And while I really like Hungary, their people don't make that much money and their politics are extremely messed up. So it's a great place to visit, but because of their economy and their very messed up political situation, I cannot give it more than B tier. If these issues did not exist, it would easily be an S tier.
Tonight, the Prime Minister of Slovakia, Robert Fico, is in critical condition following a shocking assassination attempt earlier this morning.
Another day in Slovak politics. I first found out about Slovakia from the movie Euro Trip. For such a small country, you hear Slovakia a lot, mainly in memes, so their culture export is on point. There's Euro Trip, there's also an Instagram page I really like. It's called the Random Slovak Person Daily, where they just do a wheel spin where they show you a random Slovak person every day. And sometimes you just need that, you know? Slovakia was occupied by Hungary for literally more than 900 years, so if they make any mistakes in running their country, come on guys, it's their first time. Give them a break. I can't lie, Slovaks are pulling some pretty good numbers. Like 80% of their country is mountainous, and because of this, Slovaks literally play Death Stranding in real life, which is very cool. For some reason, they have a ton of celebrities, like Angelina Jolie's grandpa is from Košice, Bon Jovi's grandma is Slovak. Very interesting, but because Slovakia is also pretty decently poor, the beautiful mountains can only go so far when it has shit politics and bad salaries. Wait a minute, that reminds me of a certain country.
A man from Slovakia sent me a plastic bag of his wet shit. I swear to God. My God. I'm not kidding. Dad, I'm not.
It goes into C tier. ყველაფერი გეგმის მიხედვით მიდის? კი ბატონო, ყველანაირი ტესტი დასრულებულია. პირველი მაკედონელი მზად არის გამოშვებისთვის. ძალიან კარგი. ბერძნებმა არ იციან რა მოელით. I know everyone says how bad North Macedonia is, but you guys also have to understand that it must be so fucking fun to live there. Like literally any footage I've seen coming from North Macedonia looks like a GTA Online lobby. And personally, I'm so down for it. I'd love to visit Skopje and drink their internationally illegal 80% Macedonian rakia. And I'm not worried about puking, because if I puke, I will just do it on the sidewalk, and the closest BMW X5 will drive on the sidewalk and get rid of the remnants. Also, Skopje looks insane. It's literally all marble in the center and shit. It's literally European Ashgabat. However, I have to hit them with the classic, one of the most corrupt countries in Europe and extremely low salaries, but they're getting a C tier just for the GTA Online factor of Skopje.
Yo, Yo, let me turn off Dexter real quick. Shit, man. You know I mean business when Dexter gets turned off. Right, so I've been tasked by Gigi to tier list a couple Eastern European countries that I've been to before. Places that I have first-hand experience of, Greece and Romania. Now, I'll give you a heads up. One of these is getting an extremely high rating and the other is getting an extremely low rating. I'll let you figure that one out. Any predictions? That's right, Romania is the most amazing... No, I'm joking. Romania is fucking ass. But that could just be because I've only been to Bucharest, which any Romanian will tell you is a completely rookie mistake. In reality, a lot of Romania is just gorgeous rolling hills with quaint villages, blood-sucking vampires, mountain people that dress up as bears, and, God forbid, Hungarians. So the mountainous areas of Romania are actually kind of cool, and they're what saves this country from getting an F. However, the flatlands of fucking Romania, oh my god, man. But more specifically, Bucharest. Oh my god, it might be the worst city I've ever been to. I can't even lie, bro. And, yo, I've been to Dudley. There is literally nothing to do in Bucharest apart from sit outside the most evil building in the world and smoke cigarettes. Just think about it. This could have been a beautiful, historic, old town in the center of Bucharest, but instead this dickhead knocked everything down to build this fucking bullshit. I don't care. I could go to London. I don't care. Why would I want to look at this? I think it's actually quite an achievement that Bucharest invested in a tram system, invested in a metro system, invested in a bus system, but they executed all these investments so badly that they still have the most insane car problem I've ever seen. I actually think that these Neanderthals, these cavemen, just haven't thought of the concept of a multi-story car park yet. Because why does the entire fucking city look like this? Every fucking centimeter of usable space is used for the most brain-dead parking I've ever witnessed. The whole time I was in Bucharest, I was trying to figure out, how does this guy get out? How does this guy get out? How the fuck does this guy get out? What the fuck is wrong with Bucharestians' brains, man? And also, why does every single building in Bucharest either look like this or like this? Literally the same day I saw the palace, which by the way is the heaviest building in the world. I also saw this scrapyard where they were burning tires to stay warm right behind me. But to be fair, whenever I talk to a Romanian about this, they tell me Bucharest really doesn't represent the rest of the country. So in light of that, I'll give these guys a little sympathy and put them one tier above the lowest tier. Whatever letter that is, it goes in that tier. On the other hand, Greece. Like most Brits, I've been here multiple times. I have a lot of Greek experience, okay? And whilst Athens existing will unfortunately stop this country from getting an S, I can't lie, I love Greece so fucking much, man. The food, oh, the people outside of Athens, oh, the weather, oh, the music, oh, the sea, the buildings, the history, the vibe. Oh my god, bro. Do I care that the Greek government probably put me at an extremely high risk of dying in a high-speed train crash because the exact train I caught tragically crashed a month later and the carriage I sat in would have meant a 0% chance of survival? No! I love Greek people and their way of doing shit, man. Even if that means they let one fat, sleepy Greek man called Pampapompopolimius or some shit control the entire high-speed train network with pen and paper. Seriously though, the Greek people deserve a lot better than the current dingleberry of a government and an economic policy they call their own. I would highly recommend that you go and visit any of these bits of Greece I've circled in red on this map. It will open your eyes and enlighten your mind to a truly beautiful way of life. A tier. High A tier, just definitely avoid Athens, unless eating overpriced tourist trap slop next to a tweaking out heroin addict is your idea of a fun time.
Croatia is pretty good, mainly because they have this coastline right here, which is absolutely beautiful and a very nice place. Dubrovnik is very nice, even though it consists of 100% Anglo tourists in the summer. When I was there, I could literally only hear British English. Everyone there was from the UK or Australia. I would see someone not white, and I'm like, oh, this is the first person I've seen here not from the UK. And then they would say something like bottle of water, and it's like, you too? Damn. Hey, you guys know that Irish pub in Dubrovnik was popping. And because Croatia has this amazing coastline of the Adriatic Sea, it results in having amazing seaside cities such as Split and Dubrovnik specifically, where Game of Thrones was filmed and which is reported to be the most over-touristed city in Europe, even bigger than Venice and Barcelona. And Dubrovnik's counterpart up the coastline is... Today I find myself in Split, Croatia, basically Africa with electricity. It's fine though, this post was made like 7 years ago. Split is way better now and cheaper than Dubrovnik as well, and it looks nice. And their salaries are not that good by European standards, but who needs high salaries when you can watch your country compete in the World Cup while drinking ojushko and then next day just chill at the beach and have this beautiful view. Croatia, A tier, goated country. Never in my 22 years of life have I ever first heard of a country by hearing they're lazy and sleep a lot, until Montenegro. And Montenegrins are certainly not helping that stereotype by holding national laziest citizen competitions every year. This is a competition about who can lay in bed for most days in a row, and the winner was this woman who won 1,000 euros. My goal. It's just respectable. Montenegro is a very small country and very beautiful, with mountains and a big debt to the Chinese. Montenegro is a very mountainous country, so they hired the Chinese to build this big highway that basically spans the entire country. It was supposed to go from the very south of the country to the very north, connecting to Serbia. So the locals living there would have less trouble navigating through the Montenegrin mountains and just had a good paved highway, basically like Death Stranding highways. And while this highway is pretty cool and very useful for the locals, it's already cost $1 billion and it's nowhere near complete. Just so you know, Montenegro's GDP is $6 billion, so they've spent a good part of their economy on this one road alone. A lot of this price inflation was caused by local corruption, which is a Balkan classic, surprising absolutely no one. But even though Montenegro is not particularly rich and their people don't make that much money, it's still so beautiful and it seems like such a chill place. It deserves C tier. Estonia is the rich brother of the Baltics. I know a lot of people might consider this offensive, but I basically consider Estonia an extension of Finland, because if you put the two against each other, Estonia literally looks more Nordic than Finland. Finland looks like it's a post-Soviet country, and Estonia is the one who was actually a post-Soviet country. And honestly, Estonia is goated. It looks nice, their public services are amazing, like they pay 20% tax, but all Tallinn residents can use the public transport for free. They got cool trams. There's even an Instagram page about Tallinn trams, plus free healthcare and universities. Yeah, that's absolutely goated. Along with this, they're the richest country in the Baltics, and according to TripAdvisor, the best thing you can do in Helsinki is to take a ferry to Estonia, and you can actually see a city that looks Nordic.
It tore me apart, but I learned an important lesson. You can't count on anyone.
When you go from Helsinki to Tallinn, the city gets more Nordic and the alcohol gets way cheaper, which is why there are a lot of day trips from Finland to the Tallinn Alkostor. The thing is though, Estonia is tiny. It literally only has a population of 1.4 million people, which is around 200,000 less people than Tbilisi's metro area. But size isn't everything, it's about how you use it, or however that saying goes. And Estonians are using it very well by focusing their economy on IT and it being nicknamed Estonia because of it. Absolutely goated country, beautiful, with amazing public services and good salaries. S tier. Visit Estonia and visit my friend's Georgian restaurant while you're there as well. Latvia's position in the Baltics is being the broke brother that you have to buy food for, and then they hit you with wait till I give my money right. Since they're the only reason Rail Baltica is not being completed. One of the funniest things about Latvia is how they bullshitted their way of keeping the Freedom Monument up after they got occupied by the Soviets. Because the Freedom Monument was erected because they won against the Soviets the first time and Latvia became independent, they went like, actually, Stalin, the 3 stars on this monument represent the 3 Baltic republics held by the Soviet Union, and they went by with it until Latvia became independent, and now it's back to its original meaning. Riga is pretty nice. I've been there. It looks cool. I also saw a picture of Tsar Nicholas II framed in a souvenir store in Riga because of the heavy Russification Latvia went through under Stalin, and there are clear remnants of it to this day. Also, Riga is crazy because I swear I didn't see a single car on the street. The streets were just tram, and Latvia generally has a very good location because you can get to the capital of the other 2 Baltic countries in just 4 hours with a bus ride. If you ever find yourself in Riga, Flixbus yourself to Tallinn or Vilnius so you can see those cities as well. And eat at Lido. Lido is absolutely goated. Amazing food for dirt cheap. Latvia goes into B tier for broke. Being Lithuanian is not easy, okay? Here's how the schedule goes. Wake up, go on 4chan to talk about how you ruled the Slavs. It is now 7 AM. Time to drink. You see guys, Lithuania used to be a very big country. But because Lithuania is so nice, it gave its territory away so other countries could have it as well. But honestly though, Lithuania is goated. They have the oldest language in Europe, the highest alcohol consumption. They also have some traditions that I would be very scared if I was around. Like me personally, I would kind of stay away from this, you know? They have the highest salaries in the Baltics besides Estonia. First country to secede from the USSR. They're based, and generally it's a good country. Like for example, if I had to go to Europe to study and they told me like, okay, you're going to study in Lithuania, I wouldn't be mad. Not at all. And I wouldn't doubt the quality of the university either. Lithuania gets A tier. The events of Half-Life 2 are based on a real place called Sofia, Bulgaria. And I'm not even joking, here are the maps. I'm actually going to say much more positive things than you would expect about Bulgaria. So what if like 30% of their country left after the 90s? So did mine. Bulgaria has one thing that any of the other countries I mentioned do not have. They have their own Michael Jackson. Aziz makes absolute bangers and I honestly might go to Bulgaria just to go to one of his concerts. Bulgarians will swear they hate gay people until Aziz starts playing and then it's all but Bulgarian beaches are absolutely amazing and despite literally all odds, they're in the EU. How the fuck are they in the EU? I do not understand. Let me in too. And Sofia looks pretty good too. I'd love to go to City 17. And while the salaries are pretty bad, it's also very cheap to live. So it kind of balances out. But that doesn't help their massive population loss because every Bulgarian emigrates to richer EU countries. Bulgaria gets C tier. Moldova is the Gattsu, don't say it, no, poorest country in Europe. And it functions just as you would expect from a poor country. However, their press freedom is better than most other European countries, way more than all of their neighbors, landing in the top 30 worldwide. And it's still a safe country and Moldovans are based. And honestly, it would be a very good country if it wasn't just so unbelievably broke. It's also the least visited country in Europe with only 11,000 people visiting it yearly. For example, 235,000 people visited Ukraine last year and they're literally at war right now. And Moldova is named after the Moldovan River, which isn't even in Moldova's borders, it's in Romania. And yeah, I'm sorry Moldovans, but it's getting a D tier. Albanian politicians have mastered being unemployed. It was 2 p.m. in Tirana and Albania's prime minister had the time to meet ISO speed on short notice. These motherfuckers aren't doing anything. Although Albania gets insane points for having the hardest flag of all time. Not only that, but the fact that you can do that cool thing with your hands just adds aura points. And also a lot of you might think that Albania is just Tirana. But Albania is extremely beautiful. They have probably the most beautiful mountains in Europe and their beaches with the clear bright blue water are amazing. Like this literally looks like the Maldives, but it's Albania. Also, Albania is the only country that can rival post-Soviet countries in their amount of G-Wagons bought by corruption. And because of this, the salaries are extremely low, which is why many Albanians emigrate to other countries. And Albania usually would get D tier, but their insane beauty pushes them up to C tier. Kosovo, so awash with fake euro coins, they are accepted as payment. Kosovo has reached the levels of vassal state of America we never thought possible. You know how much you have to meet right the US to celebrate 4th of July in Europe? You see, Kosovo is horrendously broke. If you thought Moldova was broke, Kosovo is next level. The average salary is like $400, $500 and I genuinely can't say anything about Kosovo. This building is cool, I guess. Other than that, it's a very poor country. The thing is, Kosovo is a disputed territory between the Serbians and the Albanians, and I honestly don't know how anyone hasn't come up with this, but we'll go by my golden rule on how to fix every territory dispute ever. Just give it to the UK. See? Now none of you get anything. And now it's the UK's burden to see which euro coins are real and which are not. But honestly, they got ethnically cleansed by Serbs, which didn't happen, but they would do it again. So despite everything else being bad, I gotta give them victim points for that. And instead of F, just put them in D. Yeah, Belarus is cooked, I can't lie. One of the most corrupt countries in Europe. They're basically European North Korea, with Lukashenko ruling the country with an iron fist for the last 30 years. Yes, he has been in power since 1994. Belarusians tried to have a revolution, but then Russian forces helped their puppet Belarusian government squash them. Salaries are ass. That's why every Belarusian ever works in the IT industry, preferably for a foreign company, and generally anything computer related, because literally any other profession results in you making less than $500 a month. There is a reason Belarusians keep trying to sneak over into Poland, because honestly, so would I. I get it. I feel bad. It's just the thing that's going on right now, and not many of us can do anything about it until Russia uncolonizes them. Also, Belarus has not been having the good last couple hundred years at all. In World War II, they had the most amount of casualties percentage-wise, where nearly a third of their population were casualties of the Germans, also depicted in the Le Deep movie, Come and See, which is about the German war crimes in Belarus. The only thing I can say is I wish them a happy recovery, and I hope everything turns out better for them, because the whole Belarus situation sucks. F tier. Well. What can I say? I really appreciate the Russian Federation's devotion to staying broke. You know, it's very hard to be poor when you're handed gold on a silver platter, infinite resources, and they're still broke. That is mainly because currently 41% of the country's spending goes to the military. That leaves only 59% of the state budget to be for universities, hospitals, schools, roads, infrastructure, paying salaries of state workers, and literally everything else. You know, it has so much potential. I would say I will go fix it myself, but the last time a Georgian tried fixing Russia, every other country that I mentioned got terrorized. So I'm gonna stick to my own borders this time, unlike Russia. But come on, bro, lock in. I need one good neighbor except Armenia, because Georgia is bordered by two Turkeys and Nazi Germany. What can I say? The most corrupt country in Europe, imperialist power. How do you think Russia became the biggest country in the world without imperialism? Dog shit salaries, like $800 a month for an experienced doctor. And the only country out of this entire list where you can be taken out of the comfort of your home and family and be mobilized to get blown up by a Ukrainian drone. Russia gets the easiest F tier ever. Again, even if I didn't care about the imperialism, right? It is still the only country where you can just randomly get mobilized and get sent to die in an aggressive war. Not even a defensive one. Easy F. And for Georgia, I'll be getting my friend Roman No Fuckers to rank it instead of me. Because if I do it, I'll be extremely biased. But he can't rank it low or he'll get jumped by me. So we're in a very good sweet spot here.
Everybody calm down, a Russian is speaking. Hey there people, I'm Roman and I lived in the country of Georgia for 2 years after I escaped Russia, and my boy Gattsu has asked me to rank Georgia because he thinks that as a Georgian he's gonna be too biased. Let me put this on, which was actually a gift from Gattsu. There we go, now that is more like it. Now look, as a Russian who lived in Georgia, raised in Georgia, I'm also gonna be biased because this country kind of saved my life a little bit, to be quite honest. And the people of Georgia helped me out a lot through my journey of escape in Russia. So let's start with the people. Right away, S tier. They're great, and yes, they do have a lot of people who don't like Russians, but Georgians are actually so down to earth and so ready to talk. I've never truly had any terrible experience. They'll take you in, they'll buy you drinks, they'll give you drugs, they'll invite you to your house, and give you wine or whatever. They're very hospitable. S tier. Now next thing is culture, architecture, and so on. The sites, basically. Absolutely S tier. And I'm not even glazing here because Georgia is not only an ancient culture which is one of the first Christian countries in the world, but they also have insane nature, mountains, so they have crazy ancient cathedrals and monasteries all over the place. If looks could kill, baby I'm a fashion demon. But also they've got Soviet swag, with some of the most incredible commie blocks of all time being created and built in Georgia, because Georgia is the birthplace of Joseph Stalin, the greatest man of all time. And yes, I'm saying that because I have this hat on right now. Now, as far as wages and living in the country, if you're an expat Russian digital nomad YouTuber like myself, it's S tier, but if you're a regular Georgian, it's probably more like C, because the country is rather poor, the salaries are not that high and stuff. But who cares about that, because Georgia by far has one of the best cuisines in all of the world. And once again, I'm not saying this as glazing. Even before I lived in Georgia, I thought so. Khachapuri, Himkali. Georgians have mastered the art of cooking, and also their wine is insane, and it's so cheap too. Plus, the country is also relatively chill with weed and drugs. Tbilisi is known for its club scene, with clubs like Basiani, Hidi, and Left Bank. I had many a fun time over there. And I'm gonna give Georgia another S tier for banking, taxes, and bureaucracy, because Georgia actually has very quick and nice bureaucracy. It's very easy to run a business in Georgia, and it's very easy to run a business in Georgia, to pay its taxes, and also, on top of that, the tax rate for an individual entrepreneur is 1%. Yes, guys, this is not a joke. 1%. So if you want to be a digital nomad, whatever, paying 0% tax, don't go to Dubai, go to Georgia. At least it's a real country, you know what I'm saying? Georgian people, Georgian culture, Georgian music, all of this is great. However, unfortunately, like you might know from Gattsu, the politics are not the greatest. And unfortunately, the fake country of Russia has a lot of influence over modern Georgia, and the current government is kind of interested in making Georgia into a Belarus 2 or something. So there are some big positives and there are some big negatives. So all in all, I'd say Georgia is a solid A tier in my opinion. Oh, and also I want to mention the views. I had the best view of all time in my apartment because I was on a hill, and there's a lot of hills in Tbilisi, and overall you get great views all the time. So yeah, that was my rating of Georgia. I hope I did well enough. Georgians, please don't beat me up when I go visit your country again. Thank you. Nachvam this.
If you ever go to Yerevan, you will see the most amount of supercars you have ever seen in your life. I grew up thinking they were broke like me. Turns out they're balling. Why is every car a Tesla, Rolls Royce, or a Lamborghini? What's going on here? Is it the LA Armenian money or corruption? It's both. Armenia is lit though. Yerevan looks nice. They suffer from the same thing Hungary does, which is an absolutely crazy currency, so you never know how much you're paying for something. I've been there to see 50 Cent live and it was amazing. Even got a shot of this gold Niva, which is the most Armenian thing ever. And they have a lot of culture export, such as System of a Down, absolutely goated band, the Kardashian family.
Specifically, Kimberly.
Arman Tsarukian, this golden Olympic wrestler, Cher, and the entire city of Glendale. They're the country with the most press freedom in the region. Lake Sevan is beautiful, and overall, it's a pretty nice place to visit. Though. I wouldn't necessarily say it's a good place to live, since you're always at risk of making $500 a month for a full-time job. But their Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan's Instagram is absolutely dope because he just posts videos of himself cycling, which is pretty funny. And even though I like a lot of things about the country, especially how they have abandoned Russia lately, Armenia is still very broke, which is why more Armenians live outside of Armenia than in the country itself. And honestly, the brokenness pushes it down, but the beauty pushes them up. So Armenia gets a C tier. You know, Azerbaijan looks like a rich country, and it is. But just like any of the other oil states, the people don't see shit of that oil money. Average salary in Baku, the capital, is around $600. Their press freedom is absolutely horrible, where journalists have to escape the country a lot of times, and it is also essentially a monarchy, since the Aliyev family has been ruling Azerbaijan for the last 31 years. It is a relatively important country on the geopolitical scale though, since they have a lot of oil, which is why they were able to grow their economy this much. And also Azerbaijan is the origin of one of my favorite memes ever.
Meydanın tam karşısında şurada.
Hello, Thomas Shelby, Mafia.
Mafia, okay.
Thomas Shelby.
Thomas Shelby.
Evet, Sigma.
Azerbaijan goes to D tier. Come on boys, let's lock in less nationalism, more human rights, and more of that oil money going to the people. Finally, I'm done. But wait, there's more. I promised you a bonus country. You see, the previous video I made was about the Nordics, and I got a lot of angry comments about skipping a certain Nordic country. I got this DM too. Motherfucker, you forgot my country of beep. Don't call us irrelevant country, you come from Georgia. At least nobody mixes us up with a US state. I'm sorry, that was rude. I'm making an Eastern Europe tier list video. Do you want me to put beep in there as a bonus round so I talk about it? Oh yes, that would be lovely. I'd love to see my country covered. Love your videos, by the way. This country is Iceland, which gets the rank of honorary Eastern European for this video. So as an honorary Eastern European country, we'll rank Iceland. You see, Iceland is a fictional country based on the Hideo Kojima video game Death Stranding, where to move you have to go through these rocky mountains and uncomfortable terrain. The thing is, there is nothing to do in Iceland. This is proved by the fact that Icelanders just make shit up so they're not bored. Around 7 to 8% of Icelanders claim that elves exist, and around 45% claim it is likely or possible. This is what happens when you're located on an island in the middle of the ocean and have a population of less than 400,000 people. They don't even have McDonald's there. That's how you know you're cooked. There's basically no industry as well, since their two biggest exports are aluminum and fish. But it is a very, very beautiful place that also has high salaries. So putting the fact that shit doesn't happen there aside, it's a very good country. What makes Iceland absolutely goated in my opinion is that they're one of the few countries in the world without mosquitoes. And that is the biggest plus for a country I can imagine. I hate being bit by those buzzing fucks, and if you've never left Iceland, you've never been bit by a mosquito. Total mosquito death. Because of the beauty and the high salaries and no mosquitoes, Iceland goes into A tier. We're done. I'm probably fucking cooked by the end of editing this vid, so make sure to like and subscribe, share it around, and donate to my Patreon, and goodbye.